Okay.
Hi, good morning, and welcome to the School of Serenity. We are being broadcast today by Walk to Serenity and 4MTV. I am your host, Kara Kihm. I am an author, a psychotherapist, and a Reiki master. I have written a book, Discovering My Wings, which talks about how my life radically transformed when I started following the voice of my intuition. And I have a private practice helping women to tap into their inner guidance and empower them to do the same. I am so excited for our guest today. He is a dear friend. We've been friends for over half my life. He is a businessman, a father. He has resided in Santiago, Chile since 2005 and has been in the world of software sales for over 15 years. And he had a profound life-altering transformation when he went through a near-death experience. And his story is very inspiring. Please welcome Easley Edmunds to our show today. Easley, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kara, for the invitation. I have to confess that this is the first podcast or live stream that I've ever done. It's also the first time that I've ever publicly spoken about my incident.
Wow.
So thank you for having me on the show. Hopefully, people will find it inspiring, and I think it's worthwhile giving a little context how this kind of materialized. So, do you want to share that or?
Yes. Well, I did not realize this was your first time speaking about it publicly because I really see this becoming a book for you and you going on to share, motivational and inspirational um, stories and tales. So may this be the first of many. I really see that path for you. And yes, how this interview came about is when I got really sick with COVID. And I mean, I was sick. I got down to 112 pounds, which for me is just unheard of. And I was getting ultrasounds on my heart because I was having all these heart palpitations and all my organs, and I couldn't eat. And I was very, very scared there for a while. It was bad. I actually stopped working. I'm just now, months later, starting to see clients again. And I remembered you. And as I was laying there in bed, and I was like, wow, I'm a young, healthy woman. I can barely function. I can't work. I'm getting all these tests and ultrasounds. Okay, my friend was actually stabbed in the heart with a rusty screwdriver, and his life was on the line. He had a near-death experience. And I called you and I said, Easley, if you can survive that, I can survive this. What got you through that? Remember?
Yeah. So also that same call. I mean, it was perseverance. We talked about you had a friend that's a doctor, and you guys were talking the other day.
Yes.
And obviously, that's a very, very tough profession. I cannot imagine, having a more challenging job, especially these last 2 years. But this is an individual that sees people in the ICU every day, and they were saying that it's really a crapshoot. Sometimes you execute flawlessly,
Yes.
and you lose that patient, and then other
Yes.
times, you don't execute flawlessly, and somehow that patient pulls through.
Right.
So
Yes. He said sometimes you do everything right and you lose the patient and you cannot understand. And sometimes you do everything wrong and the patient pulls through. And it's really unbelievable. Yeah, we had that conversation when we spoke. It's so true.
yeah, so speaking from my personal experience, I believe that it's all mental.
Yeah.
I was definitely in a life-threatening situation.
Right.
As you said, I was stabbed in the heart with a screwdriver in a carjacking.
In front of your family, correct? Your family was there when you got carjacked in
Yes,
Santiago, Chile.
yes, and I'll never know what provoked such a violent reaction from them. Whether it was speaking English, whether
Right.
it was being a group of 4 people that caught them off guard. But I was very collected, incredibly, this is my 3rd time being held up at gunpoint. So I, maybe it caught them off guard how composed I was. But ultimately what almost killed me was the sepsis. The amount of bacteria in my bloodstream was astronomical. Of course, that developed over time. That wasn't immediate. So, initially I was admitted to the hospital for just 3 or 4 days. They were really monitoring the fluid in my heart from the impact, which was then, leaking into my left lung. And so I was released from the hospital after 4 days, but then
really, after open heart surgery?
No. So I was
Okay.
I was released, and then my health started to deteriorate. And after a week of fighting, really severe fever, I went back to the hospital and they operated me right then and there. The level of bacteria in my bloodstream was through the roof. And so, they told my wife, look, you need to sign this waiver. Your husband's going in under what's called La Ley de Urgencia, which is basically when you have a patient in a life-threatening situation, they have to tend to them regardless of their, insurance or medical coverage. And of course, the doctor was honest with her and said, look, I can't promise you anything. He might not wake up from this. And, when people make the analogy of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, I understand that, being on the operating table, knowing that they were going to open up my chest, and knowing that it was a very risky procedure, and just staring up at this blinding light, knowing that it might be the last time I ever close my eyes.
Wow.
But, I told the doctor, I said, promise me I'm going to wake up from this. And I just thought about, my kids and death just wasn't an option. So, and miraculously, I woke up a lot sooner than most people in that, after that type of surgery. They had told my family that I would be out for probably 24 hours. I think I was, up after about 12. I was kind of in a vegetable state. I had a tube down my esophagus, and I was in the ICU. And, the doctors told me, like, look, 80% of the people in the ICU don't make it out alive.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh, it brings tears to my eyes because I just cannot imagine a moment like that for you and for Charlotte, your wife. I mean, I just cannot even begin to imagine what that must have been like for both of you.
Yeah, it was hard. But,
to say the least. I mean,
yes. But, I always kept a positive attitude. I never felt that I was the victim, it was never, why me? Why did this have to happen to me? It was just, I'm so grateful to be fighting this and to be alive. And I just got to keep pushing forward. And I did rebound very quickly. I was the second time around in the hospital, I was back at home after 2 weeks, which is pretty miraculous. And I remember, I was going to rehab, physical therapy. I asked the doctor, I was like, am I going to be okay? Are there going to be any, limitations going forward? And he was just like, no, it's going to be a gradual process. But, I really kind of value balance and health. And obviously it really, puts things into perspective when you're in
Mm,
that situation. Um,
yes.
I just see, every day people that get so wound up or, um, just been out of shape over things that are trivial,
Mm,
and it's like it puts things into, you start to understand, of course, what is important and kind of reprioritizing how you spend your time. And I would say, my biggest takeaway was, obviously spend time with your family,
yeah.
prioritize your health, and be intentional about it.
Right.
When you're spending time with your kids, give them your undivided attention.
Mm,
Put the phone down, leave it in a different room. So just
yes.
be intentional about the time, that moment, be present in the moment.
Yes. Yes. And do you think that it took this to bring that awareness? I mean, so often it's these life altering experiences where we kind of have the epiphany.
Yeah, absolutely. It just, kind of recalibrated the way I see the world.
Yes. How can it not? How could it not? I mean, you're being told you might not wake up after being stabbed in the heart with a rusty screwdriver. I mean, that's just an unbelievable story in and of itself. And then to find yourself in this point of transformation and living a new life. And so you believe strongly that your mentality is what saved you and what got you through this. And you basically said dying is not an option. Like I will not die. That is not an option on the table.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I just always try and maintain a positive attitude. And certainly, I think that is the difference. Um, when the doctor is kind of mystified as to how, it's just the will to survive ultimately.
Yeah.
And, I do consider, and I think, those that know me well, like I am a very, I'm a person that perseveres.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So
Yes. Without a doubt. You are very persistent, driven. Like there's a fire in you that you are not going to give up no matter what. You will not give up. And that pertains to all aspects of your life, I'd say.
absolutely.
And so
Um,
you think that fire is is why you're here now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I believe that I was going to pull through and, um, and yeah, and I was going to come back stronger than ever. And,
Wow.
as I said, I value health. I went to a Bikram yoga class this morning at 6 a.m. I ran
Wow.
a half marathon a couple weeks ago. Um, but more than I'm not, I just try and find a balance. I'm not, I like to have my fun too.
Yeah.
But you gotta compensate. And it's, I think just so many people struggle with, finding that harmony.
Mm,
uh, we always say that health and family is the most important, but yet people are so consumed by work. And I do think the pandemic, that has been a major silver lining. Obviously, there's a huge movement around mental health,
yeah.
which is I think that really is the impetus or the driver of or dictates your physical health. It all starts with your mental state. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that people are kind of focusing more on finding this harmony, uh,
Mm.
but it was just so broken before.
It was so broken. I love that word harmony too. It's a beautiful word. It has a beautiful ring to it. So harmony is something that has come from the pandemic for many people. I think balance and harmony is what we're seeking to find now. But were you in that grind prior to this experience?
Yes. I mean, I have to confess, I work hard, but I think that it's, again, just being intentional.
Yes.
So there's parts of your day that should be non-negotiable, whether it's reading a book to your kids before going to bed, whether it's, 10 minutes around the dinner table, who doesn't have time for that?
Right.
So
Right.
again, just, it's little things like that go a long way. And I think, like everything in life, you should try and be consistent, because small changes over or small commitments like that over time go a really long way.
Right. Right. Yes. Yes. It's true. It's true. And even self-care routines, right? I mean, I think those are really the foundation, is being able to give to ourselves first. I mean, that's something we've lost along the way too. It's considered selfish, or, we're not being family oriented. But I think that is the foundation and the starting point for health. And then we can give to our family and to our careers and to others from that starting point.
Absolutely. So, one of the things while I was in the hospital was I kept a journal, which actually I just pulled out here.
Yeah.
And I hadn't visited that journal really since the incident just over 4 years ago.
Wow.
But yes, maybe I'll read a passage that I thought
would love that.
might
Yes.
resonate with the audience.
Yes.
And so this is just one paragraph or two that while I was in the hospital. So the thing about tragedy is that it naturally generates solidarity. The most prominent example during my lifetime was 9/11. All of a sudden, the material world didn't matter, nor did your social, economical, your race, your creed, nothing else mattered.
Yeah.
The only thing that mattered was humanity. Everybody quickly realized that tragedy is unexpected and irrevocable. It suddenly became trendy to stand on the street corner soliciting hugs for free, a time where there were no double takes of a Wall Street banker deciding to hug a homeless guy. Generosity simply became mainstream. So treat, can barely read my own handwriting.
Yeah.
The tragedy creates unity, purpose that can lead to mobilization to advocate change for the better, or at the very least, help people to take a step back and reflect.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. And we do experience that collectively, like events through 9/11. And now I think in the pandemic too, that was another bridge for the collective unity. Have you experienced that in Chile?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. Companies today, I think, are more empathetic. A lot of companies are prioritizing, mental health. So yeah, I think it's been positive. I think people are realizing that there's another way. You don't have to be completely consumed in your work. And again, it's not, spend the whole day playing with your kids, or
Right.
it's just taking a few minutes out of your day to focus on what's important.
Right. Yes. So this collective tragedies that we experience, and you found this in your personal tragedy also. And I love that you're sitting there journaling in a hospital after this major open heart surgery. I mean, wow.
Well, yes, reading and writing. I mean, when you're kind of immobilized on a hospital bed, you only have so many options. But I'll never forget day in and day out at the hospital. I would look so forward to the therapist coming to visit and taking a stroll around the hospital. And that really puts things into perspective too, because, when you're walking through the ICU and you see people that look like scarecrows strung up there, just completely lifeless in a body cast, it was like, wow, that could have been me, or that was me for a brief moment.
Wow.
And yeah, it just puts things into perspective. Don't take any day for granted, because tragedy usually creeps up on you. It's completely blindsides you, and it's your ability to respond to tragedy that makes the difference. What's your attitude? Are you going to be the victim, or are you going to be resilient and come back stronger than ever?
Right. So you think it's this victim mentality that kind of holds people down and doesn't allow them to persevere?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm reading this book, The Path of Oneness, and it talks about that. And it's so hard when you're in it to not be in the victim mentality, because life does feel unfair. And in that moment, it does suck. I mean, it really does suck. But I think the key is to acknowledge it, to bring awareness to that, and then to feel your feelings, because that's valid and justified. Like, this situation sucks. I might not live, and I have 2 small kids and a family. And then to sort of reposition yourself into your point of power.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, of course, I'm not going to deny I hypothesized, if we had gotten one more red light on the way home or one more green light, it was all about timing.
Yeah.
But that's just unconstructive. The
Right.
way I looked at it was, this is the hand I was dealt, and I'm just going to deal with it. I'm going to get through this. And again, it just, when you have a day like that, it really puts your bad days into perspective, because everything is relative. Today might be a bad day, but it could be a lot worse.
Yes.
Just like, when you were struggling with COVID, it sucks, but you're going to get through it. And
Right. Well, and that was my motivation. That's why I called you. I was like, if he can survive that, I'm going to survive this, because there are a lot of people who did not make it through COVID, and I'm sending all the love and the prayers to them. And I just can't even imagine, and so I needed somebody as inspiration who had made it through a situation where you just weren't certain. And there was never uncertain whether or not I was going to make it through, but I was scared. I felt scared, And so when I thought of you and all you had been there, I was like, that's my call. That's my call. So what gave you motivation to not be the victim and to persevere? Like, did you have those things? You were my call. Did you have the people you called, or the books you read, or the things you did? Like, how did you stay in that point of power?
Yeah, good question. I think it's just my genetic makeup. I mean, again, number one, I've spent my entire career in sales. Like, you have to be a pretty resilient person. You're getting rejected 9 times out of 10. You just got to keep plowing forward. Don't let it get to you. So yeah, I mean, I think it has a lot to do with my personality. I am a very optimistic person.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You were just born that way.
Yeah. And look, I confess that most of the books I read are kind of self-help or motivating, reads, because I do, I feel like I can that I can take away from those books. At the end of the day, your mind is a muscle, and like any muscle, you condition it. And
I think that's what you do. You condition it towards the positive. I mean, yes, I'm sure you were born a very positive person, but you also do condition it. You are drawn towards a path of growth and perseverance and bettering yourself. So I think there's a conditioning piece there too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I mean, what we focus on expands, and so if we're focusing on the victim and what happened to us and all the tragedy, that's what's going to have the dominant story. But if we're focusing on how do I find my power in a really shitty situation, then that brings that to life. I mean, that grows inside of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I mean, you don't know how you're going to respond to adversity.
No.
But you can, you can train your mind to be positive, and ultimately that's what's going to help you triumph when when you're faced with a difficult situation.
Right. Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that's an interesting one because there is this culture that's like toxic positivity now, right? Have you heard of this? Is that made it
I
down there?
I don't know that it has. Enlighten
Okay.
me.
Yeah. So in the States now, there's this whole culture of toxic positivity where, they're saying you can't just be positive all the time. I think that's different than what you're talking about. You're not saying, let's be positive all the time. Like, you're acknowledging there are hard moments in life and you're saying, and I'm not going to give my power away to those moments.
Right. No, I mean, look, I don't consider myself, I mean, I can kind of understand, what you said makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself the most upbeat person.
Right.
But again, in the face of adversity, it's how do you respond to that?
Yes, that's it. That's
And
it. And that's so different than just broad positivity all the time that they're calling that can be toxic now. Yes. How do you respond in the face of adversity? That's it. That's it. And you have trained your brain to stay in your power, even in these low moments.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I guess, I undoubtedly, I have in that moment, I had a very strong will to live. As I said, it just was not even an option. I didn't care if the doctor said, it's 1 in a million. I was going to be that one.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And the body is responding to what the mind is telling it. Have you read research on that? Your body is literally responding to what your brain is telling it. So if you believe I'm going to be that 1 in a million, that's what your body is hearing.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And to believe that you can be that 1 in a million, that's where you're in your power. If there's a 1 in a million chance, there's no reason I can't be that.
Exactly. I was just remembering the Dumb and Dumber scene.
Oh, don't remind me. It's been so long. Oh, so you're saying there's a chance. Yes, yes. What did she say? Remind me of the scene. I just remembered that line.
What are the chances that a guy like me could be with a girl like you?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'd say a 1 in a million. So you're saying there's a chance.
Right. Yes, yes, exactly. So that is very much the mentality you had going into this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow.
And yeah, like I said, this is the first time I've ever done a podcast or a live stream. I've never spoken publicly about the moment, and I just wanted to do it because I thought that if I was able to inspire you and put you in a better place,
Yeah.
maybe I can help other people
Yes.
put into perspective.
Yes.
But it's all about how you channel your energy.
Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Beautiful, beautiful. I was going to say, do you have any parting words for our audience? It's such a powerful story, and it's so inspiring for me. I mean, when I'm sitting here so sick, you were my call. I'm like, man, he made it through that. So, but that's a great parting note. But do you have any other inspiration? Because it's all about how you channel your energy. I firmly believe that. And what you're telling your body and the messages you're giving your body, it does start upstairs.
Yes. I would just say, like, all of us at some point or another, we're going to face tragedy.
Yeah.
And when that moment happens, just try and find the silver lining. I really believe there's always a silver lining.
Yeah.
And just plow forward, because you can't, like, what happened. That was the hand you were dealt. It's not worth dwelling on it.
Yeah.
So you just need to get past it and rebound, and aim to make yourself stronger from that experience.
Yeah. 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 And, I have to say, and a lot of people might disagree. How can you say there's a silver lining when death does happen or this? But I have to agree with you. And my brother very well. We all went to school together, and he passed. And there have been so many silver linings. And that's not to say I'm glad he's passed. It's horrendous. It's been devastating. Like, it's been a tragedy, an awful tragedy. And there are the silver linings. And I think that's part of being able to see them, because sometimes when we're so deep in the tragedy, we can't see the silver linings, but that's a good reminder. They are there. We just have to open up to them.
Yep.
They
100%.
are there. Yeah. Yes. Oh, I'm so inspired by you, Sly. I call you Sly Easley. And it's such a profound story. I mean, really just knowing that dying was not an option and you were going to make it through that mentality, and you credit that for keeping you alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's an inspiring story, and I'm so grateful I got to be the first to interview you and to talk about it live.
I know. Maybe this will open the door to something more.
Yes. Yes.
It's been a lot of
Beautiful.
fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Easley. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your inspiration with our audience.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Bye-bye.
Adios.